Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder. Today, I thought we would do something different and react to a video that Sneakyy had put out titled, Now Make a Jumper Account, Call of Dragons Jumper Trick. And I say that because we all know that traditional jumping is not possible. And it has been like this since the beginning of Call of Dragons. They were pretty deliberate on saying that they were not going to be doing anything like that, and there were no plans to bring in traditional jumping that we know it from playing Rise of Kingdoms, and even to a lesser degree Infinity Kingdom as well. However, IK more so resembles, after they had patched it early on in beta and post, to looking a little bit more like how we do it in Call of Dragons, which is basically you just get a group of people and you start off in a brand new kingdom. Rise of Kingdom system is where you're able to start off, or at least you were able to start off in an older kingdom in an older season if you wanted to, or any kingdom for that matter. You would farm resources, you would move to the next kingdom, farm resources again, and then move to your third and final kingdom. Now I believe you can only do a single jump, which is where you start off in a kingdom, and then you hoard resources, and then you go to your second and final kingdom. And basically the idea behind this is where you are able to boost an account or a character so you can start off at a higher power level compared to players who are just downloading the game and getting populated into that brand new kingdom for the first time. And that's the simple version. It just, again, allows you to start at an elevated pace, stronger power, and being able to have a little bit more influence early on in the game. But that, again, is not the case in COD. So I'm curious to see how Sneakyy approaches it and kind of what position he comes from. So we're going to listen to it, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts, breakdown, and feedback. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us up because it helps out a lot.
With the announcement of the brand new power limits that is required for each of the permits, there's going to be a brand new strategy that all new players need to start doing as of now so you can take advantage and absolutely because they've seen this happen in other games with the exact same migration system, right? So what we're talking about today is the ability potentially now of a jumper account. Yes, you've heard it right. We might be able to actually do jumper accounts on this game, right? And the reason we're able to do this is because of that opening image, right? So when we're looking at power limits, when we come to permits, the golden number we need to actually remember is the 40 million for 5 permits, right? Because what this is going to allow you to do is basically play the game, hoard everything you need to hoard, and then teleport when you're just below 40 million to the server you want to go to, and then push all of your power. And this can obviously benefit you in multiple ways that I'm going to showcase, right? And we know we're able, especially if you're in a newer server right now, that's why I've kind of got all of these up right now. So if you're in any of these servers, and especially even any of the season T1s and just everyone in general, if you've got an account right now, you will be gaining 5 free permits to migrate with, right? And this is obviously going to help a lot of players. Obviously, for the older players that are really, really powerful, it's not going to help them too much, but it obviously is a little bit of just, a hand out. But for everyone else, like I said, that's new to the game, this is where the opportunity lies, right? Because what you're able to do now is hoard, right? You're able to actually hoard and get ready and prepare your account. Because if your aim is to be maybe an infantry main, right, or if you want to be an archer main, what you could be doing right now in your season 1 and in your next season is actually just start saving everything you have on your account. You can save every single resource token. You can just do everything that's the bare minimal, complete all your events, do all of that stuff, and hoard every speed up, every single resource token, because what you're able to do is power all the way up passively, almost to 40 million if you want to say, and then migrate, push all of your tech, push all of your buildings, and then hit over 60 million easy, right? And it's a really cool strategy because, again, this allows players, especially the newer players, to put a lot of scare on the newer or the older gen, because these guys could be, secretly waiting 3 or 4 seasons. And these could be low spenders too, right? Medium spenders that have been spending on so much, resources and speed ups as well, on top of the free-to-play players that could be doing a strategy. And if they get into your season, right, they could be going into any of the different events like the Greatest Heights, the Strongest Lord event, and that's going to allow these players potentially just out of nowhere, right, to snipe these powerful Strongest Lord heroes out of just thin air, which I think is a really cool.
Okay, so we're going to pause here. There's a lot to unpack and a lot to break down. So let's start at the top, which is Sneaky was saying that, right, you can push 40 mil, use your 5 migration permits, or up to 40 mil, we'll say, and then basically jump, migrate to another server, and then use all of your resources that you've hoarded and you've kind of kept to basically start investing and boosting the account at that point, right? Or basically using them, if you will. So let's do this. Let's first explain how long does it actually take to get to 40 mil. And so we're going to use this one as an example first. So this is again, I do top stats across Call of Dragons, so basically across the entire game where I pull data. This is our top 25 free-to-play board. This data was pulled a little over a month ago. And if we just look at the people that are from maybe 18, 17 to 25, and right, so we're going to look at here for CL, which is consecutive login. That's how many days consecutively that they've been playing. And we look at 17, which I think is here, and you go down, right? So these are the ones we're looking at. So you're going to look at, what, 464 days. I mean, even if you're looking on the low end, that's 319 days. You got a 278, but again, that's 32 mil, right? So you're looking at 300 plus days, a little less than a year, if not at a year or a little above a year. And keep in mind, this is just for free to play. If you're lower mid-spend or if you spend on the game, of course, this can be faster. But this is a long time, right? Again, in traditional jumping, it's not something that really takes that long or that amount of time. I think more appropriately, really what Sneaky is just talking about is being able to migrate a character and then go to a younger, earlier server, right? That kind of feels like what the premise of it really is. So again, maybe you could say this is like a delayed sleeper to an extent, but really what this is at this point is you're playing the game and you just want to migrate out and maybe go somewhere newer, just to clear that up. In addition, like I said, it just takes a long time to push for that. Jumping typically is done within a short window. In Rock, it's usually done within 10 days, right? So it's not something that you're typically doing at a long period of time, because the whole point of jumping is that you get to start out in a early or in a brand new kingdom, right, with a boosted level and amount of power. And so now let's get to the second point, which he talked about. If you have a character right now, you're going to get 5 permits. This is technically right. I just wish that he would have went into a little bit more detail, right? So I had asked Call of Dragons CS, and hopefully I can show this off if I'm not on Floral, my buddy Floral. So you'll see here, right, I asked COD CS, so in the announcement, does this mean that anyone who creates a new character and is still playing till the end of the season, when the settlement summary starts, they will receive 5 migration permits? They say yes. Now, my follow-up question here is, like, this is great to hear, thank you for confirming, but I'd like to know, will this be the case after the V1.026 update for players that create new characters and play until the end of Season 1, where they will receive 5 migration permits, or only for players that create characters before the update goes live? Because I think that's pretty important to know in advance. Now, so again, right, we can at least assume that at the moment, if you create a character, I would say up until the update, maybe it'll apply after, right? I'm waiting to get a confirmation. You will be able to get 5 migration permits. Now, the next point that was mentioned, which is being able to go to like any server. This, or just go, from to a server. This is somewhat misleading from what Sneaky was saying, and I say that because technically you cannot go to just any server, right? You have to go to particular servers. So what you're going to see here is where it ends up saying, after Season 1 concludes, you may migrate at any time. The destination server must be in the same season, in the home realm battle preparation stage, and before the new season preview. Basically what this means is that your kingdom and the KVK group that you were in, and I'll give you an example here. So let's zoom all the way out. We're going to go to season overview, and let's just go to season 2 to make this pretty simple. So let's say that you have S2, 87, 88, and 89, right? So we have 317 through 328. And let's say these kingdoms, these 12 kingdoms within these 3 KVK groups in season 2 all have the same timeline. And so what this means is that they will end the season at the same time, more or less, and they will have their end of season summary pop at the same time, which means their migration window will pop as well. And because of that, they'll be able to migrate between each other, right? We already know that they've publicly have come out and said that you're going to be able to migrate same season. And so that's what that means, right? It doesn't mean that any of the S2, 87, 88, 89 will be able to migrate to any kingdom in season 2. What it means is that your timelines have to line up within the same season, so you'll be in the battle prep phase or in the home realm phase, etc., the migration window when it opens, at the same time. So that just has to be stated because, again, that can be misleading if you're not providing those particulars and you go in thinking that you can just migrate anywhere at any time. The next thing that was mentioned is right, allowing like newer players to potentially put pressure on some of the OGs, if you will. Again, because this isn't traditional jumping, it's more just regular migrating. It really is dependent on what kingdom you go into. So are you going to go into a kingdom, are you planning to, if you did something like this and you're just going to kind of like boost up to 40 mil and use your 5 migration, or you're just going to boost up, to a little before 40 mil, and then you're just going to hoard everything, and then you're going to try to go into a kingdom that has strong players? Like, because you have to think about it like that. When you're migrating out of your kingdom, are you going to go into a kingdom with strong players? Or are you going to try to go into a dead kingdom, and then you're just going to be able to like run through anyone and everyone? Is your objective just to go in and maybe win things like SLEs, power-up events, etc.? But what's your end game? Because those are kind of short-term goals, if you will. So again, that is a little iffy just because it really falls more under the guise of general migration. The next one is kind of secretly waiting multiple seasons to then strike. This kind of goes back to one of the original points I was talking about when we were showcasing how long does it take to get up to 40 mil at the moment if you are a pure free-to-play, and then of course you can minus some of that time off if you spend, and then how much you spend by, or how much you spend overall. And so, again, because it isn't traditional jumping, it really falls more under migration. Do you want to wait that long before doing something like this? I mean, at that point, you're just, like I said, you're just playing the game, and then you're just migrating out to maybe just find a better home for yourself. And then the next one is like talking about how free-to-play up to mid-spenders can take great heights in SLAs from and SLE top spots, which is Strongest Lord event, from higher players. Now, yeah, maybe you possibly could if you're saving up and you're doing it, but usually in those cases, you're probably going to invest everything you have into trying to place as high as you can for one event, especially if you're free to play. For low and mid spend, I'd say for free to play and low spend, mid spend is probably a little bit different. You might be able to have a little bit more financial wiggle room and flexibility to try and place somewhere. I don't know if I'd say near the top, but it just depends, honestly, for every and any kingdom on how many spenders there are, and then how many high, mid, low spenders there are as well. How many people have saved up and are trying to invest. If you have a free to play that's just been hoarding stuff for a year, right, and they're just going to blow everything on that SLE, which I don't recommend. So you have to kind of go off it based on what the spending capabilities are for players in your kingdom versus how active it is, right, and how active it is. And so anyways, I just wanted to kind of clear the air a little bit there when I had watched this video, because I just thought, man, like this is just, I don't want to say wild, but I just thought it was just interesting because we've always known that jumping has just never been a thing in CoD, and it never will be until as long as the system stays the way it is, which again, there has been no indication that they plan to change it. So again, I'm friends, I'm cool with Sneaky, and so for me, Hopefully this is just, educationally informative. And, I kind of wanted to do more of a community service, if you will, when it at least came to just clarifying some of the points. Again, it'd be cool. Maybe it might be interesting if they eventually added in, or if they maybe I don't know if I want to say if they eventually added in, but if they started out with jumping from the beginning, because for me I'm like 50-50 really on it. From coming from playing rock, or I should say not coming from, but from my time playing rock. And there being jumping there, I've done a number of jumper projects, not only in Rise of Kingdoms, but I've done New Start projects / jumper, if you want to call it that, but I just call it a New Start project in Infinity Kingdom, and then we've done one so far in Call of Dragons, and we have one we're currently recruiting for. So I'm very familiar with New Start / jumper projects, and I, for one, at least like that COD doesn't have it. I like that there's a difference there. So with that in mind, that's going to do it for me. I'd love to hear what your thoughts and your comments are below. Do you think what Sneakyyy is talking about is viable? Is this something that you may consider doing if you're a spender or free-to-play player? Or no, maybe you just see it more as migration and probably a little bit too much time to invest in for maybe little, or just kind of unsure on what that reward or what the result would be? Let me know in the comments below. That's going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I'll catch you all later.